one thing. It goes on, conversations goes on in that locker room, and players know what their stats are.
Are you sitting here and saying Nikola Jokic is having his numbers padded? Is that what you're saying?
You heard what the hell I said.
Nikola Jokic does not care about stats, does not care about averaging a triple-double. Nikola Jokic, I hate to tell everyone, doesn't care about winning an MVP. He cares about winning a championship.
And the other part to that conversation, Big Perk, is are we looking at Jokic as a top 5 player in the game? A lot of people don't, just because he hadn't had success once we got to the postseason. This guy ain't got out of the second round since he started winning MVPs.
Lost 3 straight games, and Jokic puts up his numbers, and they ring of empty calories.
Well, I mean, Jamal Murray. Jamal.
Empty calories, low impact on scoreboard.
Hold on. Are they still the number 1 seed?
Shit getting out of hand now.
In all my years of watching basketball, I have never seen an MVP race quite like the one we're currently witnessing. And there have been a lot of different types of MVP races over the years. We've seen races where one player wins in a landslide. We've seen races where it's neck and neck the entire time, and the winner triumphs by the slimmest of margins. And we've seen races where we felt the obvious winner, in fact, did not win. But see, this year's race just feels different. We have a perfectly good leading MVP candidate, Nikola Jokic, who is playing all-time great basketball on the offensive side of things. He's putting up triple-doubles left and right, has his team the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, a top 3 record in the entire league, and even with all that, everywhere I look, be it on ESPN, Twitter, or any other sports media outlet, it seems like fans are just straight up daring voters to make this man the MVP for the 3rd time in a row.
You get that hatred out your heart, boy. Don't be hating.
And that's what makes this whole thing so weird, because it makes no sense. And what I mean by that is, why is Jokic catching so much pushback on potentially winning an award that he will be more than deserving of should he win it? Jokic don't do nothing out of line, doesn't say anything out of line, doesn't cheat the game on a night-to-night basis. He simply goes out there and just hoops at an insanely high level. But apparently that's not enough for him to avoid catching strays the way he does. So in both thinking about this and doing some research, I've come up with 3 reasons as to why people are so against Jokic winning the MVP this year, and I'll explain what those reasons are.
The white man is the devil.
Alright, so let's first address the obvious thing. Nikola Jokic is white.
What? Yeah.
And unless you choose to be ignorant, you know that across the entire planet, but specifically for this example, in America, being Caucasian comes with advantages and opportunities that are not afforded to other people of different skin tones. And in this case, Joker's a white player in the league that is 75% black. And I don't need to go into great detail about how that can work largely in his favor when it comes to things such as awards and honors. However, this is not what's happening here. Now, yes, it will be completely foolish for me to think that racism does not exist in sports and that it cannot nor has not ever been a deciding factor when it comes to things such as awards, all-pro teams, and video game covers. But for this season, I can't say that Nikola is the leading MVP candidate because he's white. This year, Jokic is putting up averages of 25 points per game to go along with 12 rebounds and 10 assists. And beyond those basic counting stats, here's a comprehensive list of things that he's either accomplished or set to accomplish this season. First center to ever average a triple-double. Third player to ever average a triple-double. Currently leads the league in total triple-doubles this year. Has the highest player efficiency rating, highest true shooting percentage, highest win share percentage, highest plus-minus percentage, is the only player in 40-plus years to have multiple 35, 20, and 10 games in one season, is top 3 in points generated per game, has the highest true shooting percentage ever for a player who is averaging 20 points or more, and so on, and so on, and so on. Jokic has been nothing short of sensational this entire season. And in addition to his individual numbers, as mentioned earlier, he has led his team to having the best record in the Western Conference and the second highest rated offense in the entire league. So when looking at all this, I can't say that it's absurd or racially motivated to have Jokic as the leading candidate to win the award. However, what I do find to be a bit unsettling are his odds to actually win the award. And at the moment, Jokic is listed as having a 59.6% chance of winning the award. And look, I have no issue, as I've said before, with him being listed as the leading candidate. But I do have a problem with the gap between him and Joel Embiid and Giannis Antetokounmpo. It should not be where Jokic is 4.5 times more likely to win the award than Joel and 6.5 times more likely to win the award than Giannis. I had previously made a video on this channel explaining why I believe that Joel Embiid should be the one to win the MVP award. And if you haven't seen it, number one, you should. It's a good video, good information, just all around high quality. But second, it goes into great detail about Joel's very compelling case as to why he should be the MVP award winner. And given what's talked about in there, there's absolutely no way Jokic should have that sizable of a lead that he does on Joel to win the MVP. And I don't gotta go in detail about Giannis. You know why Giannis is deserving. Giannis is Giannis. He's him. That's it. It's Giannis. Now, do I believe that this gap is influenced by racism? It's really impossible to tell. I can't say for certain if it is or is not. But all I can say is that if Jokic was to win the MVP award this year, he would be deserving. But it should not be the margin in which he is projected to win by. Now, that's the first issue I see that people have with Jokic as it pertains to him winning the award. And that brings us to our second issue.
Part two.
There's a quote by Dwayne Hodgen that reads, "Life is not always fair, but we can always choose to be fair and just." And I like this quote not just because of its positive outlook that it gives you on life, but also because of how it applies to this particular case with Jokic, with him winning the MVP for the third time in a row. Alright, so in the 76-year history of the NBA, there have been a total of only 3 players to win the MVP 3 times in a row. Bill Russell did it 3 times in a row from 61 to 63, Wilt Chamberlain did it from 66 to 68, and Larry Bird did it from 84 to 86. Side note, Larry Bird is the only player to win 3 straight MVPs since the media began voting for the award in 1981. So I mean, do with that information what you will. And when looking at that list, all 3 of those guys are great players. All 3 are all-time greats. All 3 made the top 75 list. All 3 are Hall of Famers. And all 3 are in just about everybody's top 13 players of all time. But there's one thing that kind of stands out about that list. While all 3 of those aforementioned guys are great, seems like there should be more names on that list. Players who are heavily involved in the GOAT debates. Players like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, LeBron James, Michael Jordan. And as wild as this is going to sound, none of those guys have ever won 3 straight MVPs.
What?
Yeah.
Now, the reasons for why it didn't happen, that's a different video for another time, but the fact of the matter is that it didn't happen. Kareem had a chance to do it twice, as he had won the award in 71 and won it in 72. Then he came in second in 73. Then he won 2 more in 76 and 77, but he didn't win in 78. And I mean, if you want to get technical about it, he did win in 74, but not in 75. But if he did, he would have won in 74, 75, and 76. So I guess there were 3 different times he could have won it, but he didn't. LeBron James had a chance to do it, as he had won the award in 09 and in 2010, but lost to Derrick Rose in 2011. And then he went on to win 2 more MVPs in 2012 and 2013. So not only did he have a chance to win it 3 times in a row, he really could have won 5 straight MVPs. And then Michael Jordan had a chance to do it, as he had won the award in 96 and in 98, but he came in second to Karl Malone in 97. So overall, we see that 3 of the greatest players in the history of the sport came close to pulling off the three-peat, but fell just short. And this is where some people have an issue. The idea that if LeBron James, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or Michael Jordan weren't good enough to win 3 MVPs in a row, then neither should Nikola Jokic, since he's not as good as them. And I could not disagree more with this line of thinking. It is not Nikola Jokic's fault for the perceived wrongdoing that transpired in the past. Yes, it is heavily debated that LeBron should have won the 2011 MVP over D. Rose. Yes, it is heavily believed that Michael should have won the award in '97 over Karl Malone. And yes, it could be argued that Kareem should have won an extra award, giving him the three-peat. But that has absolutely nothing to do with Nikola Jokic. I used a quote earlier about being fair because the operative word in that quote was about how we choose to be fair. Voters should choose to make the right decision regardless of the past. If Nikola is the deserved winner, then he should be chosen to win the award. The past does not matter. Voter fatigue does not matter. Spreading the wealth does not matter. If he earned it, then give the man what he deserves. Choose to do the right thing. And to keep it a buck, to keep it a stack, keep it real, Larry, Bill, and Wilt, all those guys who won 3 MVPs and award, nobody with a basketball IQ higher than a rock thinks any of those 3 players are better than Kareem, LeBron, or Michael. Yes, MVPs play a huge role in a player's legacy, but they are not everything. Wilton got 4 and things, and Shaq has 1. And people actually try to argue that Shaq is better than Wilt. They're wrong, but the fact is that even that is debatable shows that there's more to it than just MVPs. So stop saying that just because other guys didn't win it, that Jokic can't. That's not Jokic's problem.
Yes, sir. This nigga spitting.
And that brings us to our third and final issue people have with him. Alright. We gotta talk about advanced stats. For the past few years now, analytics and advanced stats have been heavily involved in basketball as we can now use better technology, mathematics, and advanced levels of thinking to improve the quality of basketball that's being played. Now you have a few dinosaurs in the media and its fans who either don't understand what they are or are just afraid of change. But in general, the advanced stats / analytics have been a good thing for the game. But as for the people who believe the opposite, their take on advanced stats as it pertains to Nikola Jokic is, the only reason he's going to win is because the advanced stats are in his favor. We gotta stop going with what they show us and go with what the eye test tells us. And there are a few things I gotta say in response to this. First, the idea that people are reaching so far as say that advanced stats are the only reason Nikola Jokic is presumably going to win the MVP award is absolutely wild. Because yeah, I guess the guy who's averaging a 25-point triple-double, has led his team to 46 wins, and scores the ball more efficiently than anybody else in the league is not reason enough for him to win it. Those basic stats, they're just not compelling enough. It's them advanced stats that are making him win.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit.
Second, if you don't understand exactly what the advanced stats mean or how they work, that is okay. Just say that you don't understand. But don't use them as a blanket statement to say that they're the only reason Jokic will win. Speaking for myself, as someone who studies and understands what those advanced stats mean and how they are calculated, for the most part, they run true to how our player is actually doing. Yes, some of them are a little bit weird, but more times than not, they're an accurate portrayal of how that player plays. And it's not just Jokic that has great advanced stat numbers. Both Joel Embiid and Giannis Antetokounmpo rank very high in advanced stats such as Raptor, VORP, PER, PIE, I don't know how you say it, PIE. So, it would be misleading to think that Jokic only wins because of advanced stats, when in fact, his contemporaries dominate those fields as well. And third, and this one's been on my spirit for some time now, for quite a few years actually, so I'm gonna try not to be too long-winded about it, but just walk with me, y'all. The eye test versus the stats test. Alright. We as a basketball community have got to do better when it comes to our acceptance and usage of the eye test and stats. This idea that if you use stats at all, that it automatically makes you a stat nerd or someone who is majoring in mathball is completely ignorant. The stats are literally there for people to use them, and they were compiled and calculated based on what that player actually did on the court. Now, do they tell us everything? No, they do not. Stats can be misleading if they are not put in proper context or supported by what the eye test gives you. But the idea of dismissing them in favor for the eye test is completely wrong. Now to the eye test. There is value in the eye test, and that's due to it being the result of you actually watching the game, as it gives you a full scope of what actually happened. However, the eye test can prove to be biased based on exactly what it is you're looking for, and as time goes on, your mind will eventually cause you to either forget or exaggerate things that happen. I cannot tell you how many times I've watched a game, and I tend to watch games on mute so I don't hear what's being said, things that are being repeated. I'm just watching and taking in what's happening. I can't tell you how many times I've watched a game and I look at a box score when it's over and I say to myself, oh, I didn't realize this player scored that many points, or I didn't realize he was this inefficient, missed that many shots, or he had made this many shots, or this guy had a better game than I thought, or a worse game than I thought. While the eye test is great, and it is always best to actually watch the game from start to finish instead of just watching highlights or reading a box score afterwards, it is not always the most reliable narrator, and stats can help fill in those gaps where you may not have realized something, or they can help support what it is your eye saw. The eye test and the stats are equally important and work best together. We do not have to devalue one to uplift the other. Use them both.
Yes, sir.
Now, what does this have to do with Nikola Jokic? There are some people who believe that Jokic's MVP case is only due to stats, and if you were to use just the eye test, then you would see that he is not actually the leading MVP candidate. And to that, I just gotta say,
What the fuck are you talking about?
What the fuck are you talking about?
What the fuck are you talking about, man?
I'm gonna be blunt. That's just a dumb statement to make. If you don't actually watch Jokic play, that's fine. Just say that instead of lying about him not being worthy of the lead MVP candidacy. But for those of us who actually watch him play basketball, it is obvious that he is deserving to be ranked where he is. Nikola Jokic is not a stat merchant. Nikola Jokic is more than just stats. Joker is a top 5 player in the league, and the eye test will tell you that, and the stats go on to support that. Now, this entire video is not to be used as a form of propaganda convincing you that Jokic should be the MVP award winner. I personally think it should go to Joel Embiid. And I go into detail into that as to why in this video right here. Seriously, y'all, go watch it. It's really good. It barely got any views. I worked really hard on it. It's full of good information. You know, just help a brother out. Watch the video.
Do it!
But I do stand firm on the fact that if Jokic wins, that is 100% fine. If he is currently the leader in the MVP voting by a narrow margin, that's 100% fine. And if he wins for a 3rd time in a row and other great players didn't, then that is 100% fine. What I cannot, and what we as a basketball community cannot stand on, are faulty reasons trying to disqualify him for winning the award. If you don't think he should win, that's fine, that's cool. But don't base your reasoning on lies you made up and reasons that only exist in your head. Nikola Jokic looks to be a generational player, and it will be great to see something happen that has only been done 3 times in the history of the NBA, and for most of the viewers on this channel, either only once in your lifetime or never in our lifetimes. So let's spend more time rooting for and appreciating greatness, instead of spending time trying to tear it down with unwarranted hate. Till next time, y'all. Peace.